Today on The Detail.
I hear guys like him.
You just asked me out and you like her?
What? I feel like that was miscommunication. I don't know what.
Okay, let me tell you.
Stop it. Okay, then like.
Okay, no, just let me say this.
The clashes, the showdowns, the makeups, the breakups. For 3 months of the year, the lives of Love Island UK contestants are the spectacle of several nations. But at what cost?
In 2018, former contestant Sophie Graydon took her own life after battling intense online hate.
Friends of former Love Island contestant Mike Thalasitis say they're devastated by his death.
The 40-year-old TV presenter of Love Island, Caroline Flack, has died.
3 deaths, all linked to Love Island, all within 21 months. Suddenly, it wasn't just a villa anymore, it was a pressure cooker.
Misogyny, sexism, bullying. This just finished season of Love Island UK has both critics and fans calling out some serious issues. Hi, I'm Davina Zimmer, and today, why we should be paying attention to these concerns and how what we watch impacts how we act in everyday life.
We learn a lot from watching the people who are around us. And when we've got lots of programs where it's sort of presenting these extreme views to people, then they start to see those behaviours as, it's in my environment all the time, this must be the way we're supposed to act.
It's important to note that while this episode focuses on Love Island UK, it's not the only reality TV show with issues.
John Torode has been sacked from MasterChef after allegedly making a racist remark.
45 out of 83 allegations made against Greg Wallace during his time on MasterChef, including one of unwelcome physical contact, were found to have been substantiated.
Jay Blades has been charged with 2 counts of rape. The TV star, who is best known for his time on The Repair Shop, will now be due in court next week.
Some may say it's just reality TV, a bit of mindless entertainment. So why should we care?
We need to care about anything which people are getting exposed to a lot.
Jane Herbert, an associate professor in developmental psychology, says we learn a lot from observing people in situations, both in real life and on screen.
It's a really core feature of human cognition that we learn through just watching, observing the things that are in our world. And when we've got lots of programs where it's sort of presenting these extreme views to people, then they start to see those behaviours as, it's in my environment all the time, this must be the way we're supposed to act. And so that is actually quite problematic. If nobody is balancing out those behaviours, then we start to see things come through, like if there's bullying on these programs, people go, oh, well, it's perfectly fine to act like that. So those are the bits that we need to worry about, that people continue to have exposure to things that perhaps just aren't really representing what we would like people to be interacting like.
One of the traits Jane says these shows are at risk of normalising is bigotry.
I'm the one who knows best. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm not interested in your opinion. And so those are the sorts of things that are really problematic, those behaviours where we're not understanding that what we might call a theory of mind, that people have other opinions that are different from ours, and that it's worthwhile listening to those opinions. You know, people have different experiences, but they are also valuable for their experiences as well. So it's the importance of actually listening to each other, which in theory should be what we could gain from reality TV, but actually often doesn't seem to happen. We might end up with very one-sided opinions being presented. So it might be a very strong masculine opinion on something of, for example, women should be at home with the children.
And these issues aren't isolated to Love Island UK. In the 6th season of Love Island Australia, discussions around body counts prompted similar allegations.
So we started talking about body count questions. And you made a comment, oh, you know, I'm no angel, like I've slept around. Like everything was fine. And then when I heard that comment, I was like, oh, like I can't lie, like it left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth.
The female contestants hit back, and it prompted a wider debate among fans on social media, which Jane says is an example of a reality TV show having a positive impact.
We might not always openly discuss about number of partners or what things we enjoy in sex. that might not be a normal conversation. Watching a program like this might be helpful for getting some of those views out. But when it becomes unhelpful is when you only hear one side of the story, or one becomes very dominant. So in the case you're talking about, when they're saying a woman should actually act in this particular way. So it's defining what a woman or a man should actually do, as opposed to thinking about all the individual differences there are between people, and the actual defining fact should be the gender that enables a person to have more or less partners.
When you spoke to RNZ about reality TV, you said reality television can be entertaining, but a reality check is needed. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I think we all enjoy some downtime, and it can be fun to watch people put into situations we know we won't experience or we don't want to personally experience. But we have to sort of decide for ourselves whether what's being presented represents how we want to be in the world and how we want to react to things, and whether that's real life. So just because you happen to see one person who's being misogynistic, that doesn't mean that there's lots of people out there who are doing it, and it doesn't mean that that's an opinion you should have. But it's a starting point for you to have those conversations. We don't want to get rid of reality TV. It has its place. It's fun. It can be educational. It can be entertaining, but it just needs to be cautioned, and perhaps thinking about the times that it's screened and what content comes along with it in terms of helping understand some of the discussions that are going on in it.
Another thing to keep in mind, the contestants on the show are rarely an accurate reflection of the real-life dating pool.
I'm Joey, I'm 33 and I'm looking for love.
I'm Tommy Fury, and yes, if you're wondering, he is my big brother. I'm related to the best heavyweight in the world, Tyson Fury.
Getting people talking about your show is really important for the producers of these shows. So they're going to want to have the people who are going to draw in the viewers. And that could be because of the way they look or particular attitudes that they have. Maybe they say something that really comes from left field and it's going to surprise people and get people talking. So there's a lot of that sort of thing going on that isn't the reality for most people.
But whether contestants are everyday people or seasoned reality TV stars, going on the show is not a free holiday.
2 weeks and 2 days on lockdown.
And so you're literally in a hotel?
Yeah.
And the chaperone's with you all the time?
No phone.
No phone, no TV, no anything.
You wake up by the lights coming on. You got no say when you wake up.
There's a lot more set up chats now. Boys and girls get separated. You've got to do like morning debrief.
You can't go, no, I'm not doing that.
They probably would like it if anyone did, but we're just like, we were zombies because we're so exhausted.
It can be very challenging to be removed from your everyday life. When we create these sort of reality TV programs, it's a high pressure situation where people just don't act in the way that they normally would and don't have time to think about it. And so they can end up doing things that actually, when they look back on it, they wish they hadn't. And so it's quite common that people would need some sort of counselling afterwards to help them slot back into their everyday life again.
And do you think that counselling happens?
I think it might depend on the show. It might be offered. It's also possible that people don't realise they need it either until they're back at work for a while, and maybe people are starting to treat them a bit differently than they did before.
When it comes to balancing getting good TV and taking care of the mental health of contestants, where do ethics come into play?
Wow, that's such a great question. There certainly should be a responsibility to see people through and check that they've got the mental health support that they need. There's a possibility people might not know how much support they need. And it might not also be tailored to precisely what the problems were that they had. So it might be sort of a package deal that you're looked after. You've got a couple of sessions after you've finished the show. But actually, it's something like bullying. It has a really long-term impact. And so a person might need support quite a lot longer down the road than was when they first just come out of the program.
Ultimately, it's up to individuals to choose whether or not they want to watch shows like Love Island or Married at First Sight. But Jane says the widespread popularity and the tactical evening release time make reality TV difficult to ignore. And with the rise of social media and online streaming, access to these kinds of shows, whether that be through full-length episodes or short social media teasers, is easier than ever.
It's changed a lot from when we were younger and we only had a couple of channels and everyone watched the same thing. So you would get to school and you'd have the conversations about what we'd all seen, and that provided opportunities for people to come in and talk to children, talk to teenagers about the things that they had all experienced. Now our viewing is very individual and we can pick and choose when we watch it. We can be watching it sometimes when we're in very vulnerable states, and we can also share snippets with people as well and present very distorted views. So we have actually lost control of how we share information. So a lot of the supports that need to come for this type of thing, for helping people deal with sort of the sort of extreme views, has got to come through the families, through businesses, through the education systems, just all the places where people gather and might talk about these types of things that they've been watching.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because although there are the complaints and although reality TV is so controversial, that's also kind of what keeps people coming back for more.
Yeah, they do. I mean, it is a really popular genre. It's been going on for a really long time. Clearly something works. People do enjoy it, and it could be the confrontations that they enjoy. But I guess it's just making sure that we balance it out for people. We give them other things that they can watch and find out what it is they really enjoy about these shows. And then for things that make them feel uncomfortable or that make us feel uncomfortable, those are the conversation starters that we need to be having.
I mean, Jane, our target audience for this podcast is not necessarily people who are watching Love Island. It's probably more like the parents of the people who are watching Love Island. So what advice would you give to those people?
Watch it with them. If they're going to be watching it, you need to know what's going on. So knowing who the characters are, the people who are in it, the types of situations, because it provides you with an opportunity to start a conversation. I think if we don't even know what people are watching and we just say, no, you can't watch any reality TV, there's just going to be a fight back against it. So it's actually better to be in there, learn a bit about it, and then actually express your views together and listen to your teenagers, your children, and find out what it is they like on the show and what they don't like, what makes them uncomfortable, and present your own views as well.
Senior entertainment writer and self-proclaimed reality TV fanatic Tara Watson used to love watching Love Island, but she's had problems with this latest season.
I think watching it is really disappointing because I can see how there is a lot of ingrained misogyny in these younger men. And it does worry me if they are being influenced by what's going on in the online manosphere in terms of radical misogyny, just because of what's been happening in terms of the manipulation at play.
Love Island UK as we know it first aired in 2015 and quickly became a staple of reality TV, with other countries creating their own versions and the show gaining millions of viewers.
They're usually people in their mid-20s and they're invited to a villa in Spain. And in this villa, they stay there for multiple months. Like these, especially the Love Island UK seasons, they run for a long time, like about 3 months. And they date each other, they get together, they break up. The drama comes from sending in these bombshells to tempt people to kind of stray away from their relationship. There's a Casa Amor stage, which is like the ultimate temptation where they send in all brand new singles to like break up all the couples, and that often happens. It's very dramatic. And then whoever's left over, you kind of hope that they like each other and that they're in love. And usually the couple that feels like the strongest, or at least that the viewers are most invested in, they usually win.
You talked about love there and people are in love. Are these relationships that actually last on the outside?
Sometimes. I wouldn't say it's got as bad track record as like Maths Australia, but I would say with Love Island UK, the early seasons did create quite a few long-lasting relationships. There's been marriages, there's been babies, and then a lot of them are still together today, whereas as the show's gone on, there's been less of that happening.
Why do you think that is?
I think their priorities have shifted away from casting real people that are relatable to casting influencers. So they're casting people that already have a following. And so really they're going on the show to boost their fame and whatever they're trying to do in their career to boost that. And then love is just might be a perk.
That shift in casting preference hasn't gone unnoticed.
Love Island is rigged. It is rigged. It is rigged.
This is no longer a reality TV show. This is a PR fix cleanup.
And it seems like for some fans, this season is the final straw, with thousands complaining about the misogynistic and sexist behaviour of some of the contestants.
I feel like there's been seasons where there's like one guy that's like, I don't like that guy, he's being very toxic. But this season there's 3 and they all very much support each other and condone each other's behaviour. So I call them the toxic trio. So we've got Harry, Harrison and Dijon. And all they do is lie and manipulate whoever they're dating. And they're often playing 2 women at the same time. That was the case with both Harry and Harrison. Both the men were just lying, gaslighting these women, making them emotionally distraught. In the case of Shakira, for most of the series, Shakira has been crying.
I cannot remember the last time I was like genuinely happy in here.
And then you've got Dijon, who is very interesting. I would say he's the alpha male of the house, and he almost like pulls the strings with Harrison and Harry. He's very influential in this trio, and at the same time he's dating this woman Meg, and he is flirting with other women, and then when she tries to hold him accountable for that, he kind of laughs at her and gaslights her and makes her seem like she's being dramatic.
I can't believe you're doing this.
No, I actually can't remember the conversation.
I know for a fact, Meg, you remember the conversation.
Okay,
I don't know
fine.
if the camera's around and you're trying to make me look bad. I honestly don't understand what's going on.
I'm not saying that.
Meg, I don't understand what's going on, man.
So it's just this really toxic dynamic between all these men where they're just deceiving all these women and almost playing them like it's a game and their feelings don't matter. And it's just been this pattern that you're watching it and you're like, I feel awful about the state of the world that these are the men that these women have to date because it's really toxic. And then there's this other element that's really interesting where there's a couple of women in the villa that are almost siding with the men.
Why does Jasmine want to pull me for a chat?
Yeah, I know.
It's like, do you want me to go for a chat?
Yeah, take your pasta with you.
I said, yes, I'm eating. I told Jake to check that.
Have a word with your missus, mate.
You've got Helena and Meg, who often have been backing up what Harry and Dijon are doing. They don't really get along with some of the other women in the villa, so there's this almost internal misogyny going on. It's all just very upsetting.
Tara isn't the only one finding it hard to watch. One episode in particular, centering around a love triangle between contestants Harrison, Tony and Lauren, received over 1,000 complaints.
I don't often cry this much at reality TV, but the empathy I felt for Lauren in this moment, he essentially slept with Lauren one night, and then the next night he convinced Tony to take him back without telling Lauren any of these conversations were happening. And so they then came to this big recoupling ceremony when Tony did what she was told because she really liked Harrison. He'd been leading her on the whole show. So she picked him. And in the meantime, Lauren and then Tony's partner, Cash, were absolutely humiliated. And as a viewer, you're watching this just being like, this is just all Harrison. He's playing a game. He does not care about these women. He doesn't care what he's done to Cash. It was just, you couldn't even imagine how you could be so careless with people's feelings. So it led to this huge amount of complaints just watching it because it doesn't feel good to watch this type of TV. It's very upsetting.
Even Women's Aid in the UK has called out the behaviour.
The charity Women's Aid have taken to their social media to call out what's happening on Love Island and to explain the toxic behaviours that we're seeing.
So this was mostly about Harrison, but it definitely spoke to like the wider culture in that house. They spoke about that there was these really unhealthy patterns developing on the show and that it was steeped in, misogyny and sexism, which is so true. What they're speaking about is these patterns of manipulation and gaslighting and also mocking the women. There's been instances, there was one conversation between Tony with Dijon, Harry and Harrison, where she was speaking about how one of the women in the house, Shakira's feelings was hurt by something they'd done. And they literally laughed in her face.
And although some may argue that it's just the nature of reality TV and it's not that deep, what happens on screen inevitably has real-life impact.
In 2018, former contestant Sophie Graydon took her own life after battling intense online hate. A year later, Mike Thalassitis, another ex-Islander, did the same. And then came 2020, when Caroline Flack, the show's original presenter, died by suicide.
Although their deaths weren't a direct result of being on the show, it did force producers to take a good look at how contestants were supported after leaving the villa. It also made fans more aware about the devastating cost of the entertainment they consumed.
It feels like it's reality, because it's different than watching a soap opera where you know it's scripted, it's going to end on a cliffhanger, it's quite predictable. These shows, they draw us in because we don't know exactly what's going to happen next. But the target audience for these ones are vulnerable people who are just learning about relationships, learning what makes it a good partner for someone, or what you might be looking for in a partner. And so we need to think about the way we support people when they're watching these sorts of shows and how it's balanced with other programs that are on.
That's all for this week. The Detail is a Newsroom production supported by RNZ and NZ On Air. Thank you to Tara Watson and Jane Herbert for joining me, Davina Zimmer. This episode was produced by Alexia Russell and engineered by Alex Harmer. Ka kite.